Real fake, real fake, real fake, real fake news.
Welcome to the Real Fake News. I'm your host, Jesse Bertel. In this show, I use the terms real news and fake news sarcastically. So real news refers to corporate news spinning and creating a counter-narrative, and fake news uses local and independent media to reveal a more accurate narrative based in the truth that is left out of coverage by major news networks. All right, now that we understand the rules, let's play the game. In fake news, Hurricane Harvey hit Texas and wreaked havoc and devastation in Gulf cities like Corpus Christi, the city I was born in, and Southeast Texas, especially Houston and Beaumont. And my thoughts go out to those affected by this disaster. But here's something you won't see in the real news. According to rawstory.com, MSNBC loses connection to reporter as he goes off on oil industry for robbing locals of infrastructure funds.
When you shut down these refineries, there's a huge amount of toxic gas that's released. So we've got to watch out for all that. And in the past, oil and gas companies have just got away with covertly just like losing a lot of toxic waste in emergencies like this. But this is, it's not rocket science. This has been warned about for years by climate scientists. ProPublica had a piece just last year warning of that something like this was bound to happen in the Houston area at the very least. And yet this is all coming as a surprise, and there just aren't the preparations for it. And yet so much money has been generated here. The mayor yesterday talking about how she spent $5 million on roadways for drainage. Well, it wasn't enough. And yet there is more money here, and Texas politicians clearly have a lot to answer for because they're the ones.
I think we may have just lost Shihab's line there.
Wait, you're telling me that most of the aftermath could have been avoided if it wasn't for the greed of wealthy politicians and oil companies? I'm shocked! Tell me more. Cut the mic. But despite the hardships, some people aren't letting this hurricane break their spirits.
Ah! What the hell? Está acá atrás. Va para el cajón. Está en la esquina. Ahí va. Ya lo... Oh my God!
That dude is dealing with the flood like a boss. Let's play again. In real news, according to Forbes, Hurricane Harvey is when we need price gouging, not laws against it. After much criticism, Forbes removed the article from their website. Way to stay credible, Forbes. Whatever happened to retractions? Luckily for us, nothing ever goes away on the internet. Let's play again. In fake news, price gouging has been reported all over the Houston area. According to reversepress.com, Best Buy responds after selling $43 bottled water to Houston victims. In times like these, we need real leadership to bring aid and comfort to the victims. Fortunately, Trump has a plan. According to Daily Express 24, Trump finds a disgusting way to profit from Hurricane Harvey crisis. Over the course of the weekend, as areas of Texas were in the midst of historical flooding, the White House press office sent out 2 emails, both with the subject line, photos from President Donald J. Trump's video teleconference with cabinet officials on Hurricane Harvey. But the intent behind the photos is to push the baseball hats worn by the president. Both hats are for sale on the Trump website for the absurd price of $40, and all proceeds go to the Make America Great Again committee. What a stupid hat. Classy, Don. Wouldn't want to miss a perfect branding opportunity. He traveled to Texas, and do you think he wore the hat the whole time? Of course he did. According to Vice News, he went out of his way to remark on the size of the crowd.
We're here to take care. It's going well, and I want to thank you for coming out. We're going to get you back and operating immediately. Thank you, everybody. What a crowd, what a turnout.
He's so obsessed with crowd size, it's starting to seem like overcompensation for something. Let's play again. In real news, at a recent news conference, Trump bragged about using the tragedy in Texas as a media opportunity to push his political agenda.
In the middle of Hurricane Harvey hitting on Friday night, you chose to pardon former Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I wonder if you could tell us what was behind your thinking for issuing a pardon for the sheriff, and as well, what do you say to your critics, even some in your own party, who say it was the wrong thing to do?
Well, a lot of people think it was the right thing to do, John. And actually, in the middle of a hurricane, even though it was a Friday evening, I assumed the ratings would be far higher than they would be normally. You know, the hurricane was just starting. And I put it out that I had pardoned, as we say, Sheriff Joe.
Or as I like to call him, Racist Criminal Joe. Let's play again. In fake news, Trump hinted about the pardon at a rally in Arizona last week, despite the recommendation of his advisors to wait. Why is he holding a rally anyway? Is he still campaigning?
There was much speculation Trump would pardon Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's been convicted of contempt of court for defying a court order to stop his deputies from racially profiling people, then detaining them on suspicion of being undocumented. Last night, Trump hinted a pardon would be coming soon.
By the way, I'm just curious. Do the people in this room like Sheriff Joe? So, was Sheriff Joe convicted for doing his job? That's what. He should have had a jury, but you know what? I'll make a prediction. I think he's going to be just fine, okay? But I won't do it tonight because I don't want to cause any controversy. Is that okay? All right?
Is he mocking his own advisors? I'll make a prediction that Trump won't last the first year as president. We can only hope. Trump sent a powerful message to all government officials by pardoning this criminal that corruption is not only allowed, but encouraged by his administration. Unfortunately for Trump, the American judiciary is empowered to check and balance the president. According to OccupyDemocrats.com, a judge just gave Trump and Arpaio bad news about the pardon. The article goes on to say, Trump is about to find out the hard way that in the United States of America, the president is not king. He cannot simply clap his hands and subvert the legal and judicial system of our nation because he wills it. A warning to all those currently under questioning in the Trump-Russia investigation would do well to remember. Outside the rally, police didn't show the protesters the same courtesy that white supremacists got in Charlottesville, according to Democracy Now!
We begin today's show in Phoenix, Arizona, where President Trump held a rally where he repeatedly defended his response to the deadly white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. He also criticized Arizona's two Republican senators, John McCain and Jeff Flake, without directly mentioning their names. Neither were there, nor was the governor. While Trump spoke, thousands of protesters gathered outside the Phoenix Convention Center. Police attacked the thousands of protesters with tear gas and pepper balls. There are also some reports that police fired rubber-coated steel bullets at the protesters. Police reported 4 people were arrested. During his speech, Trump repeatedly criticized the corporate media.
These are truly dishonest people, and not all of them. Not all of them. You have some very good reporters. You have some very fair journalists. But for the most part, honestly, these are really, really dishonest people, and they're bad people. And I really think they don't like our country. I really believe that. And I don't believe they're going to change, and that's why I do this. If they would change, I would never say it. The only people giving a platform to these hate groups is the media itself and the fake news.
President Trump attacked the media for about 20 minutes of his speech.
And here's some more alt facts from the alt president about the rally. Trump overcalculated the crowd size of his rally with an 11,000 person margin of error when he tweeted, "Thank you, Arizona. Beautiful turnout of 15,000 in Phoenix tonight." But the capacity for the event space was 4,200 people, and only 4,169 people actually attended. There he goes again with the crowd size, overcompensating for the size of his tiny hands? Yeah, hands, let's say hands. Not all fake news is created equally. There's a vast difference between independent conservative news, which is often hate speech and wacky conspiracy theories, and independent progressive media like Democracy Now!, which is a legitimate attempt to respond to and criticize corporate media narratives, even if they don't always get it right. In the wake of the chaos in Charlottesville, extreme conservative outlets are reaching pretty far up their asses to find a way to pin blame on progressives. First, it was the invention of Antifa driver. According to PuppetStringNews.com, a friendly fire Charlottesville car attacker is anti-Trump Antifa supporter. Then, when they found the driver, and he turned out to be a Trump supporter and a white supremacist, they turned to their default blaming of George Soros. They're referring to this Craigslist ad for crowd service looking for actors. Must be willing to brawl with a neo-Nazi. Possibility of death, but other than that, it's a good gig. Hey, Soros can pay my bills. I could use a job. When do I get my check? I keep seeing this repeated by so-called progressives. What is it supposed to prove? It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, not Charlottesville, Virginia. Besides, it's not like Craigslist ads are a credible source. Also, it's a company that provides a service to other companies that need crowds for whatever reason. It doesn't say anything about anyone actually requesting their casting service for anything specific. What it says is, if you would like a crowd for a protest, corporate PR stunt, or for anything, they will provide the crowd. Maybe actually read before you jump on the Soros default conservative narrative. If anyone was paid to be there, it was the white supremacists, who seemed pretty well organized for inbreeders. Even if people were paid to attend, which they weren't, that doesn't change the gravity of neo-Nazis terrorizing a town, inciting violence, and committing murder. I doubt the KKK members would need money to get white supremacists to show up with all that's going on, empowering and emboldening them. Hatred is a powerful fuel, perhaps even more powerful than money. Even progressive media gets it wrong sometimes, though. Some progressive commentators are starting to sound a lot like their wacky conservative counterparts. According to this guy, Anomaly, protesters on both sides were bussed into Charlottesville together.
Apparently this is a taboo mentality to have, but I'm not a complete moron. I can double task. I'm not right-wing. I'm not conservative, but this is why I make these videos. Listen to what this guy has to say.
Why would buses line up in the same place and drop people off? Some of the people got on Black Lives Matter shirts and some people got on KKK shirts.
Could it have been real racist and real neo-Nazi and white supremacist people defending a statue? Absolutely. I'm not ruling out either or promoting either or. Once again, I'm just not a complete moron.
You seem like a moron to me. Anomaly or whatever it is. He spent a lot of time explaining that he's not a moron. He clearly worked very hard making his video, but forgot to include any factual evidence of his bold claim. Who told you they were bussed in? The guy sitting in his car? That's not even remotely similar to evidence. It's like intellectual ping pong. I say a fact, you make some shit up. I offer another fact, you make something else up. Stupidity is contagious and should be treated like a dangerous virus. But unfortunately, we can't rely on the major news outlets to be the truth vaccine. Let's play again. In real news, white supremacists aren't terrorists because they aren't Muslim. Antifa is the real problem. According to BBC, Antifa, left-wing militants on the rise. Critics say the militant left is just as dangerous as the far right. Which brings us to our daily definition. False equivalence, a logical fallacy in which two opposing arguments appear to be logically equivalent when in fact they're not. This fallacy is categorized as a fallacy of inconsistency. Example, the militant left is just as dangerous as the far right. First, there's no militant left. That's like the liberal media, a term used by conservative media which describes something that simply does not exist. Neoliberal maybe. Second, protecting yourself from violent Nazis who are marching around in full military gear, brandishing assault rifles, isn't violence, it's self-preservation. Here's another example. If white supremacists are labeled terrorists, so should Black Lives Matter movement. But the truth is, Black Lives Matter seeks equality for people of color. KKK seeks supremacy for whites. Huge difference. The fact is, all major news media is right-leaning, not just the obvious right-wing outlets like Fox. According to CNN, Richard Spencer is such a fine, upstanding citizen that he has been upgraded from alt-right to white rights activist. White rights activist Richard Spencer denied at University of Florida. You want a new term for alt-right? I got one for you. How about vanilla ISIS? Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? At least Trump denounced white supremacists, right?
He said that the alt-right is behind these attacks, and he linked that same group to those who perpetrated the attack in Charlottesville.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm sure Senator McCain must know what he's talking about. But when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
define it for me. Come on, let's go.
Senator McCain.
He's getting pretty defensive there.
Excuse me. What about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt?
This is Senator McCain's statement.
Let me ask you this. What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs? Do they have any problem? I think they do.
Alt-left? That's not a thing. I guess it is now. We prefer Hollywood liberal snowflake, thank you very much. Let's play again. In fake news...
Wait a minute, I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news.
I'm not fake news. You're fake news. It's actually the real fake news. But thank you. I just wanted to ask, is it true that you're a Nazi?
The same level as Nazi. I will tell you something. I watched those very closely, much more closely than you people watched it.
You people? What's that supposed to mean? People with dreads?
You had a group on one side that was bad, and you had a group on the other side that was also very violent. And nobody wants to say that, but I'll say it right now. You had a group on the other side that came charging in without a permit, and they were very, very violent.
They actually did have a permit, and the car drove them over at 80 miles an hour. You know that, right? Oh, how dare they bounce off his car and damage it and dent his hood. He has to repaint it now. Perhaps you were referring to this video circulating conservative websites that excuses this terrorist, saying that someone attacked the car first. But the video was slowed down to make it look like the car was moving slower before someone tried to hit the taillight. And when you watch the original video in normal speed, you can clearly see the car moving fast towards protesters before anyone tried to hit the car.
Social media videos show the moment when a car plowed into a crowd of people on the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah, they were just peaceful Nazis marching up and down the street, spewing their hatred and brandishing firearms illegally and running people over.
Nothing changes. Fucking Nazis.
They were Nazis, dude?
Oh, come on, Donnie. They were threatening castration.
Uh-huh.
Are we going to split hairs here?
No.
Am I wrong?
Well, he
Man, they were
alt-right.
Man.
Huh?
They kept saying they believed in
white people. Alt-right.
Fuck me. I mean, say what you want about the tenets of National Socialism, dude. At least it's an ethos.
No.
The myth of violent liberals is a farce perpetuated by all corporate-owned news media outlets, from Fox to CNN. And the establishment will stop at nothing to reinforce that narrative, including infiltrating nonviolent movements and provoking violence. Here's something you won't see in the real news. According to Westworld.com, police infiltrated an anti-fascist group during a peaceful student march in Colorado Springs. This week, attorney David Lane expects to file a motion to dismiss charges against members of Colorado Springs Socialists, a student protest group, over a march demonstrated in Colorado Springs on the grounds of outrageous conduct by local law enforcement. The reason? Lane argues that undercover officers were improperly embedded among the nonviolent protesters, whose largest offense at the rally appears to have been jaywalking. Trump is the candidate they've been looking for to give them the green light to infiltrate progressive grassroots movements, just like the good old Nixon days, when civil rights movements were labeled as terrorist organizations. Let's play again. In real news, all the major news networks do report real news, at least 50% of the time. Well, maybe 25% for Fox News. According to New York Times, as white nationalists in Charlottesville fired, police never moved. What the hell were the police doing? In fact, it took them weeks to arrest him.
Kill the person. Heather hired Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people.
White supremacists never see themselves as bad people. Let's play again. In fake news, this guy says he's not the racist people are making him out to be. According to Independent, the man behind a viral Charlottesville photo says, "I'm not an angry racist." Of course not. You just prefer the company of white people, right? Hey, that picture looks a lot like a young Hitler. "Nein! I'm not the angry white Nazi! It's the Jews!" But seriously, actions speak louder than words, bro. If you're not a racist, don't join a white supremacist group, march around with tiki torches, chanting about Jews, and publicly incite violence.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
White people chanting "Jews will not replace us." Yeah, that's not racist. What was it with the tiki torches anyway? Were they on sale at Home Depot? Were they expecting a lot of mosquitoes? You know, two Nazis going to Hobby Lobby looking for fabric to sew their swastikas for the march. Yeah, you know what would look great to the Nazi march? The tiki torches. Brilliant, white brother. That's the way you see the dark people, because it will be dark at night. According to Gizmodo.com, white supremacists are crowdsourcing a lawsuit against Charlottesville for allegedly violating their rights. For white supremacists, they sure are quick to play the victim, like this crybaby Nazi.
We have done everything in our power. We have used every peaceful and lawful means by which to redress our grievances.
We're not nonviolent. We'll fucking kill these people if we have to.
And our enemies just will not stop.
It's you in danger.
Yeah, and that is because this city is run by Jewish communists and criminal niggers.
We've been fucking assaulted. They are threatening us. So, yeah, there we go.
Wah, wah, boo-hoo. Big girls don't cry, Mr. Nazi.
It's not fair.
Fair? Who's the fucking Nazis around here, you bunch of fucking crybabies?
Okay, so we take some money you have won, we call Shatifa.
This guy's gonna hurt us, Walter?
No, Donnie. These men are cowards.
Let's play again. In real news, according to Newsweek, Alex Jones claims the so-called deep state is going to kill the president. I've known Alex Jones since he started his show at Austin Community Access TV, where I used to teach video production courses, a requirement for people like him to broadcast on public access channels. But I never thought I would see the day when his nonsense was reported on mainstream news. This right-wing radio personality said Friday that the so-called deep state is planning to assassinate President Donald J. Trump. Deep state? What I wouldn't give for a deep throat right about now. Get your mind out of the gutter. I mean the source that took down Nixon. The only one taking down Trump is Trump himself. He was installed by powerful fascists, not just the Russians, through media manipulation, because he has all the right fascist dictator qualities. You won't find any Woodward and Bernsteins at Fox News, where they seem to love everything Trump does. According to Fox News, Tucker Carlson said that Trump looking at the sun is the most impressive thing any president has ever done. After Trump reportedly stared directly at the solar eclipse, Tucker Carlson proved that he would do anything to bury his nose deep in Trump's ass. When I started this show, I was very critical of CNN and other major news outlets, rightfully so, for creating a misleading narrative of Bernie Sanders' campaign during the primaries. But I want to make something real clear. CNN is not fake news, as Trump so diligently repeats, at least not in the way he thinks it is, because to him, Fox is the real news, or worse, Breitbart. Or even worse, InfoWars. InfoWars? A news organization that's literally at war with information. And this doesn't just affect right-wing news media. They're all competing to represent one of two sides of the same coin, which is a corporate model of profit-motivated infotainment. Some could argue that Fox News pioneered the model by using fair and balanced as a catchphrase instead of an honest approach to journalism with traditional ethics in mind. And this is where the danger lies. Sensationalism sells clicks, likes, views, and feeds ad revenue for news and information media. The problem is that even when they are factually correct, they're pushing a fictitious partisan narrative, constantly dueling with each other on a battlefield that they created for our amusement. And that's the real fake news. Thanks for watching. If you like this show and would like to see more shows like these, please subscribe. And if you really like this show, please donate. If you absolutely love this show, you can become a monthly patron.
Real fake, real fake, real fake, real fake news.
Real fake.